You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Welcome back to Oklahoma OnStage, your go-to podcast for all things theater inside the great state of Oklahoma. We're back today with our very first episode, our very first interview. We're meeting with Joh Mann from Ardmore Little Theater. We're going to talk about theater in Ardmore, her current production. So if you're ready, let's get started.
Oklahoma OnStage, the stories come alive with drama, dance, and music. The arts always thrive. From center stage to backstage lore, Oklahoma OnStage, there's always something more.
So we are joined today by Joh Mann, who is a board member down at Ardmore Little Theater, also currently directing M.A.S.H at Ardmore Little Theater. Welcome, Joh.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So I'm glad to have you. This is you're the inaugural guest of Oklahoma OnStage. Appreciate you being a part of this. It's been kind of an interesting journey getting this thing started. We've got numerous people getting on board and just trying to pick who's going to be first. And so you were the lucky name that got drawn. So
I'm thrilled to be number one. That's great.
That's awesome.
And congratulations on your new podcast.
Well, thank you very much. It's kind of as I was telling someone the other day, it's kind of a labor of love. So this is kind of the introductory issue or episode is out now, kind of giving a little bit of a backstory of how this came about and all of that. So if you get a chance to go listen to that, you'll kind of get a little behind the scenes stuff. So
okay.
So we're going to start out. I want to start out with just a couple of questions for you. First, how did your journey into theater begin?
Oh, my journey. Well, it actually started in high school. I was very active in theater in high school. I went to a very small school in Oklahoma, M.A.S.H, which is south of Ada, Fitztown, Oklahoma, which has a population of 400. So it was a very small start, but I found I enjoyed the theater. I thought it was a lot of fun. And I began babysitting. One of my jobs during the summer was to babysit a group of kids, and there was like 5 kids in this family. And the only thing I could think of to do, and I had forgotten about this until one of them reminded me at a reunion recently, but I wrote a play for them for that summer. And I said, at the end of the summer, we'll produce this for your parents. And we did. And I had forgotten about that. But at a reunion probably 8 years ago or so, something like that, one of them, he's a superintendent over at Stonewall. he reminded me, "Do you remember that play you wrote for us?" And I had to think for a minute, but I did remember. So that was probably my start. I just kind of naturally gravitated toward the theater, I think. And I like to write. I am a writer. So then in college, I was a college scholarship athlete. So I came from a very kind of a small, I told you the small town I came from, but I also didn't have parents. So the person I admired most was my coach. But so I didn't major in theater, it was my minor. But I went to Murray State College on scholarship. I had another scholarship, but I didn't have a car to get there. So my brother dropped me off at Murray State. And then I went to East Central. I got married and then finished up at East Central and in the theater program there, where I worked with Dr. Dorothy Summers. She was amazing. The theater there is named after her now at East Central. And then when I moved, my husband is from Ardmore. So we moved here 40 years ago, 45 years ago. That's just where he's from. We had kind of traveled to Houston and moved around a little bit. But when we came back, I didn't really have a lot of friends in town. So I thought, well, I'll just check out the local community theater, and auditioned and started there.
And how long have you been with Ardmore Little Theater?
Ardmore Little Theater is my home theater. I've been there for probably right at 35 years. I've been active as an actor. I help behind the scenes. I have directed for them for many years, and I've written shows for them. And I've also served on their board.
Excellent. So tell me a little bit about Ardmore Little Theater, some of their history and how it's evolved over the years.
Ardmore Little Theater started with a lady that I actually knew. She's passed on now, Lil Williams. She and some of her friends, she had connections to Hollywood, strangely enough, in such a small town. Rue McClanahan is from Ardmore, by the way, and she was active in our theater. And Lil started a group of thespians who wanted to perform, and they started in a barn, actually, and from the barn out at the Hardy Murphy Coliseum Field Grounds. And then they moved into, I'm trying to remember, a building downtown. And then through her influence in town with the Goddard family, Charles B. Goddard, his wife Ethel, and Lil got together and decided that they needed a performing arts center. And so the Charles B. Goddard Center was founded in the 70s, I believe, maybe 72, and was built. And from that point forward, Ardmore Little Theater has been a part of the Goddard Center for all that time. We're their resident theater.
Very interesting. So what is the mission and vision of Ardmore Little Theater?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Our mission: we want to educate and entertain our members, community stakeholders, partners, and performers. We encourage everybody to participate in the arts, particularly children. We want to give insight into the human experience through live theater that we feel invigorates human minds and emotions. And we want a home that inspires collaboration. We really embrace the artistic spirit in everything we do, and we try to build a better community by bringing people together to participate in this power of collective performance. So really our goal is I've always said, and I say to my actors whenever we're working, our goal is to provide a quality experience and to improve the quality of life in Ardmore, Oklahoma, and the surrounding community.
That's very good. I like that. So that would kind of leads into the next question as far as what does Ardmore Little Theater do as far as to contribute to the culture and arts of Ardmore and Southern Oklahoma?
We produce 4 shows a year plus a children's show every summer. Our season starts up in September and runs through May. And those 4 shows typically include 1 musical, a couple of comedies, and a drama. And we try to stretch. Our musicals we try to find the ones that appeal to the greatest audience, the most popular. But we also try to stretch ourselves occasionally. We just finished Addams Family, directed by Lisa Riggle, and that was a huge success. And now I'm currently producing M.A.S.H. We're in the process of starting our auditions. But this summer, we're going to have a children's musical as well as another play. So we're going to provide 2 shows this summer. We try to stay busy all year.
Sounds like it. Sounds like it. And that's great. That's great. So, what do you think sets Ardmore Little Theater apart from other regional theaters?
I don't know though. I'm not sure what sets us apart. I would say that, we're a part of a huge community of amazing people that work hard to entertain and to provide bonding experiences for those that are involved in the cast and the tech crew and the set crew and whatnot. But I think that we're a part of a big family in Oklahoma. The Oklahoma Community Theater Association we're a part of that, and we support that. So what makes us different? I don't know that we're uniquely different. I think we all, of course, every theater group thinks they're, family. We all have so many of the people there are people that come back every time for auditions, and the people that come to see us are very, very loyal. So I think we do provide quality theater, and I think that our patrons appreciate us. And I think maybe the fact that we have an amazing theater at the Goddard Center might set us apart, because I know some community theaters struggle to find good spaces. And if I could encourage communities around the state in any way, it would be to help these groups find ways and locations to really provide access for the whole community to attend. Because we do have, every time someone comes to our theater, they compliment our theater and say, wow, this is really an amazing space. That may be our biggest difference.
And that's great. I think I agree with you. I think space is always an issue for community theaters.
It is.
And I think exactly the phraseology there of community theater should go a long way into bringing the community together and finding ways where the community can help that theater in presenting those things. So I think a lot has been said over the recent months and years as far as, theater and the arts in general help to propel our young people as far as, their achievements, both in their development mentally and physically. And so I think the communities can have a large part in that by helping, local community theaters such as Ardmore. So let's see, switching gears just a little bit to you. So what are some notable productions that you've worked on there at Ardmore Little
Oh
Theater?
gosh. Wow. Um, so many. Let me think. Uh, Notable productions. Well, there are some that are very close to my heart. There was a show we did a few years ago called A Piece of My Heart, and that play is about 6 women who served in the Vietnam War, either as nurses, as a Red Cross candy stripe, or what? Not a candy striper. What did they call them? Donut dollies. They called them donut dollies. And one was an officer, an intelligence officer, and those 6 women represented actual individuals who served. And most people don't know this, but 8 women died during the Vietnam War when women weren't drafted, and 55,000 men died. A little over 55,000 men died. So that show reflected the experience of those nurses and what they dealt with every day, looking into the eyes of men that they knew were not going to survive and telling them they were going to be okay. So the storyline, the title reflects how they left a piece of their heart with every one of those individuals that they came across. They served a vital role, and I like to remember that women served, and their service during that time, and in any branch of service during any war or conflict, they deserve to be recognized. So that play resonated with me. It resonated with the audience as well. We actually had a Vietnam vet, actually a Korean vet, on stage with us. So that was pretty cool. We also acknowledged the military folks in the audience through that experience. And most of us had family members that had served in one war or another. My dad served in World War II. So that was special. Another really, really special play was Drowning Girls. It's a true story about 3 women in England who were preyed upon by the same man who married them and then drowned them in their bathtubs soon after the marriage in order to gain life insurance. And he was a pretty dark individual. And these 3 women tell their story in bridal gowns, in wet bridal gowns on stage. It's very dramatic. So I tend to lean toward the more emotional. I don't necessarily lean toward the woman story, but being a woman, I guess it resonates with me. But that story was very dramatic, and we even put there's not supposed to be a male character in that play, but I put a male character in that play because this was in the early 1912 through 1915 is when this occurred in England. And so I built a platform with stairs up to it in center stage behind the bathtubs. And I put a masked man up there. He never spoke, but he was always there, implying that he was because women had to be married in order to have value in that particular society. If they were 26 years old and unmarried, they were looked down upon as being unmarriable, unwanted, unvalued. So the three women, their stories were very, very compelling, and the reasons they fell for this man were very compelling. They were very unique. One was very interested in romance and the whole idea of falling in love, and one was trying to escape a domineering parent, and the third one was a little late in getting married and kind of thought it was her last chance at a good life. So the three stories were so compelling, and I loved that play, and the actors were just amazing. I have the best actors down here, really, really gifted talent pool. Other plays that might have resonated with me, plays I've performed in have resonated with me. Marvin's Room is a story about a woman who, are you familiar with that?
I have not seen the whole show, but I have heard of it and a little bit about it. So yeah,
Yeah,
it sounds very.
it's a really cool play, and I would recommend it for community theaters because it is a small cast and it's not a tough set, but it's really a dramatic exploration of family relationships and how those can go so badly, but also no matter how badly or how upset we are with a family member, the love is always there.
They're still
We,
family.
ne- we never ever completely get rid of a family member, at least most of the time. And the story is between about two sisters, and one of them has been dedicated and taking care of a dying father. And the other is a hairdresser who has explored her life and has had a few divorces and really not doing well in life, but she just doesn't want to be pinned down. And she goes back, her sister gets cancer, the sister that's caring for the dad. And the hairdresser sister comes back with her two wild kids, and tries to help out because and it's the dynamic between the two sisters, and it's very, very compelling in terms of their relationship. So that one really impacted me. I was the hairdresser sister in that particular show. And I think if I could say that another experience that impacted me or resonated was I wrote 10 plays for Ardmore Little Theater as fundraisers. Murder mysteries were big. We're coming around about 20 years ago. And the state tourism group approached me about writing a play for the local Lake Lodge here, Lake Murray State Lodge. I can't remember the name exactly. I apologize. But at the lodge at Lake Murray, I became friends with the people that were running it back then, and I wrote a play. We produced it there. We took that same play over to Texoma, and then we took it up to Roman Nose. And so I performed for 10 years. We performed those plays. I wrote one every year for them for the winter months when their business is a little slower. And we split the money that was made from that. I didn't take a dime for directing or writing. And the money that was raised from that was used half for the lodge and half was donated to Ardmore Little Theater. So that resonates with me because I think that's important that people find ways to fundraise and support their communities that way.
That's very interesting. That's kind of a neat little arrangement there. So as a writer and a director, do you oftentimes find yourself adapting shows to fit at Ardmore Little Theater?
Do we censor? Is that the question?
Or as you kind of mentioned, as you mentioned a while ago, adding a character for certain things, or maybe
Yeah,
altering a scene or whatever.
right. I think sometimes you have to. Sometimes language, if you're in a really, really, if your community is really adamant about their conservative values, then you may need to, as a director, and an actor may not feel comfortable saying a certain word. I've had actors before that are very, very religious. They have very strong spiritual faith, and they don't want to say those kind of words. So I allow that. Yeah, of course. The play that I'm directing now, M.A.S.H, doesn't have a Klinger character in it. And if you've seen the TV show M.A.S.H, I mean, Klinger was integral to that. And people kind of look forward to seeing Klinger when they come to see M.A.S.H. So we may be adding a Klinger character. It won't have, this individual wouldn't have lines, but I would add it as someone who walks through the facility, and we all recognize, oh, there's Klinger, haha, So do I adapt? Yes, I do. I try not to push too many boundaries because the writer has sometimes very, very rigid restrictions on that sort of thing. And as a writer, I want to respect that.
Okay, so let's see if we can throw one of our curveball questions at you.
Okay.
And I really kind of liked this one. If Ardmore Little Theater could stage a dream production with unlimited resources, what would it be and why? And I figure you being a board member, you guys have had this discussion previously in putting seasons together. What could we do if?
Okay, I'll just bite on this hook. I would say that a dream production would be Hamilton. Everybody loves Hamilton.
Sure.
Amazing show if we had the resources. But I will tell you that in the past, as a board, we have discussed this, and this was back when I was on the board about 15 years ago. We were talking about doing Jesus Christ Superstar. And if you're familiar with that show,
yes,
the actors, there are four voices that just have to be there.
Oh yeah.
There's Jesus, there's Judas, there's Mary, and there's Pilate. Those voices are amazing.
Yeah.
And Judas's singing role is tough, really tough. So, the argument was we don't have the voices. And my argument was, if you build it, they will come, sort of kind of the old Field of Dreams concept. So we did produce it. And I will tell you, they did come. We had an actor from Oklahoma City come to play Pilate. We had an actor from Southeastern, an amazing talent, Corey King. He's now the director of performing arts for the Chickasaw Nation in Oklahoma. So he's an immense talent. He was our Jesus. And then we had a local guy, Doug Fowle, play Judas. And the actor from Oklahoma City played Pilate. So yeah, we did it, and it was amazing. It's probably the best musical I've ever seen performed at Ardmore Little Theater, but it's close to my heart too, because I really love that play. So I don't think there's too many that you can't do. I think, I think in community theater, you take who shows up and you make the best of it. And sometimes you can be shocked and inspired.
Very much, very much. Myself being involved in community theater, I've spent most of my acting in the adult realm in Shawnee. So at Shawnee Little Theater, kind of a similar situation. You do the best with what you've got, and it's amazing sometimes the people that show up that you're just, wow, where did they come from?
Right.
And then, like you said, occasionally we bring in people from Oklahoma City, and people from Ada will come up and things like that just for certain productions. Right. And it just makes it happen. So yeah, right. I totally get where you're coming from that. So, as a director, what do you find most challenging and most rewarding about directing in a community theater?
Oh, wow. The whole process for me, analyzing the script, I start with the writer. I'm always very interested in knowing what inspired the writer to put this piece to paper. The Crucible, for example, was written by Arthur Miller, who wrote this. He had actually done research on the Salem witch trials and felt that he couldn't really make a story that was strong enough, and it didn't resonate with him at the time until the McCarthyism of the 50s, when people were being ostracized for being associated with someone who was a member of the Communist Party. And he saw that, we would call it cancel culture today, but he saw that happening, although it was more serious back then, I think. I'm not sure. I didn't experience it, but knowing that he wrote that as a way to remind us of the things that people will do when they think they're right.
Mm.
The actions that some of the really difficult, some of the really heinous things that people will do to each other in the name of being right or righteous, even sometimes. So understanding the writer is critical for me. Once I've understood the writer, then I can interpret the material the way it was written. Otherwise, I'm applying my own interpretation to it, which I don't like.
Right.
I prefer to know the writer's intent. That helps me coach the actors through the process and remind them of, what our ultimate message is. That every show should have a message to it, as far as I'm concerned. It may be a lighthearted message. It may be a dark warning. So I try to understand the writer. But in terms of working with the actors, I absolutely love blocking. And I always call it, we're going to put our skeleton together here. The blocking is our skeleton. Later on, we're going to add character, which will be muscles and tendons and ligaments. And then pretty soon they'll have skin. And then we'll put on makeup and all that stuff. So it's the whole process of encouraging an actor who's tentative. And I see them adapt and change and grow. Man, that is powerful stuff. That, for me, it's a drug that I love to see. We had a rehearsal the other night, and I was coaching a relatively young, new actor, and man, he was just so adaptive to the coaching and so receptive. And I find that very exciting. In fact, I was sweating like I'd run 5 miles by the end of the rehearsal, and everybody else was sitting around watching and saying, she's about to keel over here. But I work hard at it, and I like to see the actors respond in ways where their confidence grows. And an actor that's coachable, to me, is really exciting. Coachable actors are super exciting to me.
I think that's always a plus, someone that's willing to take direction.
Yeah.
And able to adapt that into not only who they are, but what they're trying to. I'm all about, have been this way for a long time. I believe, for me especially, acting, directing, whatever, it's all about storytelling.
Yes.
That's our whole job as actors, is to tell a story.
It is.
And fortunately for most of us, we're given a script, so we already have the story. We just have to find a way to tell that story,
Right.
and tell it in a way that makes it believable.
Right.
I think that's the key too. So yeah, I think that's a great way. If you got somebody that can take those directions and actually do something with them, and not just, okay, fine, I'll do it that way.
Or just not understand. That's a harder situation, but it's community theater.
Right.
You work with what you have, and people do their best, and they still have a good experience. That's important. I want the actors to have a great experience, as much as I want the audience to fully embrace the show.
Yeah, it's the same thing I just got through being assistant director on Julius Caesar downtown
Nice.
City, and it was a total adaptation, totally brought from Shakespearean England to the 1970s in the United States during the political unrest of the Vietnam era and all of that. And the interesting thing about Julius Caesar is that not Julius, but William Shakespeare, is that he never introduces his characters. They're completely blank slates. And so every actor has an open interpretation of how they want to play that.
Right.
And so even though our technical director who did the adaptation for the show, even though he kind of gave us a new vision for the show, each one of the actors, we sat down and kind of walked with them about, who is this person? We literally had to go through a whole character development exercise to get them to understand who the person was, where they came from, what was their background, who were they married to, did they have children, all of that kind of stuff, to develop them before they ever set foot on stage.
Right.
And I think getting actors to do that, to see beyond the words on a page,
right,
is really kind of what helps, exactly what you're saying, in getting them to do that. And like I said, telling the story.
Right. The lines are their clues, but they have to find the bigger meaning behind that person's purpose in being there.
Right. It's like reading a map. It tells you the direction to get from point A to point B, but it doesn't tell you how to get there.
Right, right.
You have to determine the steps along the way.
Right. And that's something I was coaching one of my actors the other night. I said, your character is a rigid rule follower. You don't stroll anywhere. You march where you're going. You have rigid body language, and your movements are clipped. And so, you find those ways to reflect the character through the only tools you have, your voice, your expression, and your body.
Exactly. Okay, let's go back for just a few minutes to talking about M.A.S.H, your current production. Can you give us some insight into into M.A.S.H and what makes it special or challenging to direct?
Oh, special and challenging, very challenging. The M.A.S.H stands for Mobile Army Surgical Hospital. And this is set in the Korean War. And it literally was written by a guy who was a surgeon in the Korean War. He had a story to tell. And the story he wanted to tell was about how the doctors and the staff there survived, the trauma. Because those wars were very bloody, very, very hand to hand. There was a lot of, close contact fighting. And so the hospitals were constantly seeing trauma. And how do people deal with trauma? A lot of people deal with it by becoming depressed. Some find humor. They found humor. That was how they dealt with their stress. And so this show is literally a few days in the life of or a few weeks in the life of a M.A.S.H unit. So the storyline isn't what I wouldn't call it a real strong storyline, but the storyline is about a young Korean camp boy who, his name is Ho-Jon. He helps around the camp, and then they wind up he wants to become a surgeon like the men he admires so much. And they wind up raising money to send him to the United States to become a surgeon, to train. So that's the whole storyline. There's not a lot going on there. It's the daily life that we get to see. The challenge in directing M.A.S.H is the fact that you have 3 acting spaces on stage, and there's something going on in each one of them at the same time. So it's a technical challenge. I've got the doctors in the swamp, and they're doing whatever it is they're doing. Their scene is going on while I have nurses going in and out of the nursing tent. Some are asleep over here. Some are putting on makeup or whatever it is, doing their hair, putting their hair back. Over here in the mess tent, I've got Father Mulcahy, the priest, who is reading a newspaper while having a cup of coffee, and Divine, the camp cook, who is there piddling around in the mess tent. So trying to block that is insane. I will tell you, it's insanely challenging because I'm very, very particular as a director about timing, focus, where my focus is being placed. I'm going to have to accomplish a lot of it with lighting. It's also going to have to be accomplished with the actors' ability to, I taught them our first night of rehearsals how to pull focus and how to throw focus. And those people who are in the non-focused tent need to be making sure their body language doesn't pull focus. And so that's my challenge, is I'm directing 3 orchestras at the same time, if you will. So, and I don't want all of them to just be, you stand over there and sit down and read a paper. I want them to be doing realistic things that they would do, just in a way that doesn't pull focus. Does that sound crazy?
Wow. Yeah.
But it is challenging.
I can imagine some very subtle movements as well as, wherever the focus is at the time. So
Right.
So would you say this show and Ardmore Little Theater in general, how do they go about engaging with the audience to keep them coming back?
Oh, good question. Wow. Well, the quality of the shows is, of course, the draw. I mean, we've always been we've had a long history of putting on good shows, and our talent pool here is amazing. I'm not being overly kind here. genuinely complimenting the talent that we have here. So people love to see some of our actors are very, very beloved in this city. One particular, John Pryor, he's an older gentleman, a friend of mine. I'm an older woman, but his family, I've known his family for, gosh, 35 years. And he is beloved on stage. There was another before him, Martin Dyer, who was also beloved on stage. So people come sometimes just to watch a particular actor interpret a role. They enjoy that. Other times it's making sure, like, for example, during Piece of My Heart, we acknowledged our military folks. We want their experience to be one that they walk away from talking about. So in my shows, of course, people love musicals. We're trying to do shows that we know appeal to the audience, like musicals. And we also, involving kids involves parents and involves relatives. And we want to make sure that our theater has a legacy of ongoing quality and ongoing entertainment for the community. And the only way you can do that is by engaging children and their families.
Of course, that's why, this endeavor that we have with Oklahoma OnStage, we're trying to incorporate and support and encourage the next generation as well with our children's theaters, our schools, things like that. We want to make sure that they are included in all of this, that they are promoted and pushed to the forefront, and that we're going to preview and promote their shows just as well as we are M.A.S.H at Ardmore Theater or something at the Civic Center or whatever. That they're going to get just the same amount of promotion as anyone else. So, because they're working just as hard. So
yeah, and we do fangrams so that people can in the lobby, people can pay $1 for a fangram and send a note to an actor backstage, and those things are kind of fun to do. So little things like that. We also will offer.
And those are really, really cool. I could say from an actor's perspective that to hear the feedback from the fans. I mean, yeah, afterwards when you see people outside or whatever, you did a great job and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, those are the great civilities that you always get. But to hear a personal note from somebody, those are kind of the engagements that really make a whole lot of more impact.
They do. And it's
just the, hey, you did a great job,
Yeah, and it attaches the audience to the actors, and because that's fun for them. A lot of times with Mike, I taught English and speech and drama recently at Plainview schools here. And, I would encourage my students, if you'll go see this play and get your program signed by one of the actors, I'll give you 5 bonus points on any test. So little things, you can do is in the community to encourage it. But we try to make it fun. Our actors do hit the lobby after each performance to make sure that they thank people for coming. And of course, they get all the accolades then too. It's fun.
Sure. Okay, a couple more questions, and then we'll let you go for the day.
Okay.
What is a quirky or surprising tradition or superstition that you follow during rehearsals or before a performance?
We do have a quirky tradition, like every theater does. Our quirky tradition is we grab pinky fingers, and every cast member has to pinky finger salute every other cast member. So it's a mishmash of, and we always say break a leg. I say broccoli just because I want to be fun. And because I get tired of saying break a leg, broccoli's either. So, but anyway, we just do that. That's our little tradition. Sometimes I like to, and this may or may not sit well with some, but I like to offer a quiet time, kind of a moment of silence, and some want to pray. Some just want to center themselves and kind of spiritually lock in, on what they're about to do. And I like to do that too. But I offer that as something that the actors can participate in if they like. But yeah, the pinky finger salute is our tradition. What's yours?
I think it varies from theater to theater. I've been involved currently now with about 3 or 4 different theaters. For me, I have this thing, and it's irregardless of what show that I'm in. I have to take about 10 minutes before performance, for every performance, and listen to jazz.
Oh,
I love jazz music, and I find that it both relaxes and centers me. And most times when I do it, I don't even think about the show. I don't run my lines. I
Mm,
don't think about the blocking. I'm literally just, as Kevin Costner once said, clearing the mechanism
right.
and just try to center. And I find that my energy is higher. I
Mm,
find that my characterization is better and my interaction with the other actors and things is so much better. So that's just kind of something that I do.
right.
I've known little theaters, they have little, different little, break
Yeah.
leg ceremonies and things like that. And so I think they're all kind of neat and it's a great way, anything that you can do, quirky or not, whatever, anything
Right.
that you can do to get the cast connected,
Right.
to be together, because for that hour and a half, 2 hours, they're family.
Right.
Kind of like what you said earlier. It's like we can never really get rid of family. In that hour and a half, 2 hours, whether they want to or not, they are family.
The best friends I have in this community that have been my lifelong friends are my theater friends.
Oh, I agree.
And
I have a couple of shows that we are literally still family.
yeah,
I was in a few years ago with The Miracle Worker, and one of my most impactful shows that I've ever been involved with. And that entire cast, we still get together for around Christmas time, which was about the time we had the show, and we do like a family reunion, is what we call it.
right,
And so it's just
right.
kind of a neat little thing for us. So yeah,
You become you're sharing an experience that sometimes is very deeply emotional.
absolutely. If it's one of those powerful,
Mm,
impactful shows, you
mm,
can't help but connect with the people you're on stage
right,
with. I mean, it just doesn't
right.
happen. So, all right, last question. What advice would you give to aspiring directors or actors looking to break into local theater?
Aspiring actors, show up and audition. Don't be afraid, overcome the nerves. We have a lot of people who suffer from anxiety these days. And I think that really prevents a lot of people from even trying something that they would probably be really good at. I have a local actor here, and she was terrified of auditioning, but I asked her, go ahead and try it. I mean, just tonight. I mean, here's a monologue, try it. And she did, and she was amazing. I thought, what is she worried about? I don't have those terrors. For some reason, I'm more extroverted and more willing to throw myself out and or open my belly to the knife that I give other people to stab me with. But she was amazing, and now she is in a part in my play, and she's fabulous. And I think that so I would encourage people, if you feel compelled to be there, you're probably supposed to be there. Whether your anxiety keeps you from doing it, that's something you have to face. I had my best friend that's been my best friend forever was a completely introverted person, would never put herself out, even into just a small department meeting at work. And I actually tricked her into being in the play. I had her read in, somebody was absent. And so I had her read in the part. Well, then this person dropped out on me. So I just kept her reading, and she didn't realize she was the character, and I didn't tell her. I just thought she could figure it out because the person never came back. And so it came time for costuming, and I said, okay, here's what I need, and here's what you need to be wearing. And she was like, wait, I'm not in this, am I? I'm like, yeah, you're in it.
Did
And
she?
now she's one of our premier actors in the theater. But as far as directing, that's a different thing. That's a different thing. How to break into the directing. If I were a new person wanting to direct, I would find someone that I admire and ask to shadow them. I would find a director that's strong, that produces shows that I personally think are quality shows, and then figure out what it is they're doing and interview them. Even just say, how did you make this happen in this show? What's your secret to casting? What is your secret to good tech? What's the secret to this, that, and the other? I like to create images on stage that people could, if they had a camera, they could take a picture, and it would be a memory, not just a kind of a action shot where anything could be going on. I want to create images that kind of implant themselves in the retina of our audience. And so find people who do things that you admire. Why is that show so different from this director's show? and whatnot, and then just start spending time with them and start asking questions, and ask for an assistant director's position, unpaid if necessary. No better way to learn than by sitting in and watching the process and going through the grind, because it is a grind. It's hard work.
Yep, that's exactly what I just did. This was actually my first opportunity to step into a directorial position. I approached the head of the theater company and said, I want to direct, but I'm not ready to do it myself.
Yeah.
Could I work with you? And so she brought me on as assistant director for Julius Caesar. I was given the opportunity to do all the character development for everybody because that's kind of my forte. And then she gave me the reins to block and direct a couple of scenes in the show. And then we just kind of tag teamed everything else. And she kind of gave me feedback along the way. And it was amazing.
Did you learn a lot? Tell me what you learned.
Oh my goodness, did I learn. I've pretty much done everything in theater except direct. I've been a stage manager. I've done lights, sound, props, makeup, which I'm not good at makeup or costumes. I don't sew. So
I'm not either.
But I can come up with an idea as far as what I want the character to look like.
Right.
And so I could work with a costume director or whatever. But I've done all that stuff and I've always wanted to direct, and I moved out of Shawnee alone and started broadening my perspectives into Oklahoma City, and had been with this theater company with 2 different shows. And I was like, I really would like to direct. We met with them. And of course, the 2 of them, the owners, they asked me, so what's a dream show that you would want to direct? And I was like, okay, well, it would be this. They're fairly new. And so most of the stuff they're doing right now is all public domain. So a lot of Shakespeare, things like that. But they're doing the adaptations and things like this. So it's giving us some freedom to do new things with older ideas. And so just sitting in the room with the creative process and seeing the director, it was her, and her husband was the one that did the adaptation. He did all the technical stuff. And so I helped a lot with the tech, being able to use some skills that I already had, but then just listening to her and the way she would kind of what you were talking about the picture, the way she would paint the scene, and she would do it in a way that the actors could see it the same way she saw it. And I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. You know, I was like, I'm very much have always been in love with the collaborative directing style, to where, yeah, I'm here to guide you from point A to point B, but this is your show. You know, you're the one actually doing the strokes on the canvas. I'm just telling you where to put it. So even though I'm telling you where the brush needs to hit, how you apply the brush, how evenly you make the stroke, that's all on you. And so we need to work together. There has to be a collaboration. And so I want the input of the actors. And I always tell them, you know, even when I was a stage manager and when I was doing this, you know, if you guys have ideas, let's hear it. You know,
as a former actor, I also like to think that I'm a collaborative director as well. I like to say, if someone says, I've got an idea, can I, heck yeah, show me, you know, I want to see what you've got. And even if I'm thinking, man, I'm not really sure I love that, but I'm going to see where it goes. I'm willing to have that, to take that risk. And then I want to encourage the actors to do that. So I'll never totally squash an idea, probably, but I would also maybe manipulate it just a little bit and ask, hey, could you consider adding this to that? And that might make that even more powerful. So yeah, I love the actors. If I've worked for directors, I've acted under directors who are very, you know, on this word, reach and touch this cup. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, and there's no input from the actor as to how this character is being interpreted. That's very hard for me as an actor.
Yeah, I don't do the paint by numbers thing very well.
Right. That's a good way of describing it.
Yeah, don't give me here's my picture. I want you to duplicate this.
Exactly. Right.
You know, it's got to be interpretive. It's got to be collaborative, all of that kind of stuff.
If you have those good actors, you want that, their interpretation, because it brings so much more.
Yeah. There's got to be some freedom for them to create.
Exactly.
That's what
And
we're
it
here.
will be rewarding if they don't.
And it goes back to exactly what we're talking about, or what I was talking about earlier. If you staunch them, if you clip them off, they're not going to be able to tell the story.
Right.
They're telling your story and not their story.
You're absolutely right. I agree with that.
Okay, so as we wrap this up today, tell me a little bit about M.A.S.H. What are your dates and times?
Okay, we're in auditions now. We will perform May 1st through the 4th. That's a Thursday night through a Sunday afternoon. Our performances are at the Goddard Center here in Ardmore. They will start at 7 p.m. on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And on Sunday, we'll have a 2:30 matinee. If anybody wants tickets, they can go to ardmorelittletheater.com. Ticket sales typically open the week before the show or the week of the show. So if you don't see the ticket purchase option when you first go now, for example, it'll be there later. So just check when it gets closer to the show.
Excellent, excellent. Joh, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your time. I'll be seeing the show
Oh,
and
wonderful. Yeah,
looking
I have
forward
tickets
to it.
for you.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks for being a part of this. Thanks for all of your answers, all of your time. It has been a blast just getting to sit and talk with you. I can't wait to see what you put on stage.
Thank you. I can't wait to meet you.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Thank you again.
Okay, bye-bye.
Oklahoma on stage, the spotlight burns so bright. Every tale and song, a starry guiding light. So tune in, folks, there's much to explore. Oklahoma on stage, let's give an encore.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need. You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.